We are going to start things off here with an absolute banger of a matchup, Cedric. This is going to be an awesome matchup. Paulo Vitor Damo da Rosa versus Ondřej Stráský, two good friends, former testing teammates, and competitors in Mythic Championship 6. In that final, that was one of my favorite Magic games of all time, and I expect nothing less when these two do battle against each other.
It's a great way to start a second day of competition here for this tournament that means so much to all 16 of these players. We saw this matchup a little bit earlier in the day yesterday, as Monty and company did mention. Gotta say, there seems to be some underlying tension at the desk this week, and I don't know if you're picking up on that as well. Something about the picks, tough to say. But this is going to be an interesting matchup to be sure, because though when we watched it earlier, it was Sam instead of Paulo, Sam did get destroyed pretty quickly there, I will admit. But maybe that's small sample. Maybe that's not how it always plays out. We're going to find out here once again. World champion, reigning and defending Paulo Vitor Damo da Rosa against somebody who just is not losing very much Magic at all right now in Ondřej Stráský.
He is not losing. Currently 5-0, looking to improve that record to 6-0. And as the desk have mentioned, magic number here this weekend is, of course, 7. Stráský gets to 7. He will be ecstatic with that. So let's get this game underway. Sculptor of Winter sent back to hand with Fading Hope. And Stráský is going to do what we've seen him do most of the weekend so far with this deck, is just keep control of the battlefield until he can start doing nonsense with cards like, hey, Alrund's Epiphany.
Yeah, if you are new to this matchup, the plan here for the Izzet side of things is very simple. Just buy some time, and buy a little more time, and buy a little more time with Fading Hope. Burn down the house, divide by 0 until you can get the Galvanic Iteration plus Alrund's Epiphany turns. Once you do that, the game is more or less over. If you're mono green, you're just trying to curve out. 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop. Paulo's start here on the play, had there been no Fading Hope, would have been turn 2 Sculptor Winter, turn 3 Asika's Chariot. Try to run away with this thing. Fortunately for Stráský, did find a Fading Hope to slow Paulo down quite a bit.
Yes, indeed. So Sculptor of Winter will hit the battlefield once again. Bit of a tricky decision there for the Expressive Iteration. So the land was put to hand. And just going to pass a turn back, as Divide by 0 is going to be the reactive player in game number 1 here.
And you do see Stráský's hand, this Divide by 0. Burn down the house is something to work towards. Unexpected Windfall, a key card in this build of Izzet Epiphany. Allows you to accelerate, color fix, and draw some cards, not only in the mirror style matchups where it comes up maybe a little bit less, but very much so in the mono green matchup that we're currently in, because it allows him to basically say, you know what, I want to accelerate into that Epiphany plus iteration style turn and kill you very, very quickly. And there's really no risk at doing so. Nothing like Unexpected Windfall getting countered or anything like that. So Paulo's got the unfortunate decision of trying to figure out, okay, am I going to try to cast Chariot? Am I going to try to cast a Rangers class? Am I going to try to cast Ren in 7 and just hope that Stráský doesn't have anything?
A tricky spot to be in. It's going to be Asika's Chariot, and this is going to meet a Divide by 0, so back to hand for the time being for the reigning world champ. And what do we pick from the sideboard here, or will we just draw and discard for Ondřej Stráský?
Well, you do see Teaching of the Archaics. Maybe Environmental Sciences might be of interest here, because Stráský does just have one land in hand. Doesn't mean that, of course, Expressive Iteration can't find the next one, but Environmental Sciences in some way is a guaranteed land drop and a little bit of life as well. You do have to spend some mana in order for that to be the case. You could also make the argument right now that, well, he's got enough mana because he has a copy of Unexpected Windfall in hand. So he, in a weird way, might not want any of these cards, but I also think you can make an argument for all of these cards.
Well, he's eyeing out Mascot Exhibition, so he's thinking late game. Alright, how do I beat this creature deck if I don't get to have several turns in a row? I'm just going to dump a bunch of creatures down. I have yet to see a Galvanic Iteration Mascot Exhibition, so maybe today's the day, who knows?
Yeah, dream big. Dream big, it could happen.
Blizzard Brawl here is the draw for Paulo Vitor, as he is going to cast Asika's Chariot, will at least attempt to. Once again, Stráský has other plans in mind though, and Divide by 0 will send this back to hand.
Yeah, this is so reminiscent of what we saw in the match between Stráský and Pardee yesterday. Pardee's only loss thus far is just this consistent, you don't get to resolve anything. Because if any of these things do get on the battlefield, obviously it's a problem. Now, finally, a Ranger's class is here, but it's not turn 2. It's, it's much further down the road than that. So Paulo would love to have resolved one of these big spells, Chariot or Ren and 7. Ren and 7, of course, making a large tree folk to give some beatdowns with, but it just hasn't happened yet.
It's looking okay, though. I say that knowing that there's a burn down the house in hand, so maybe not 100% okay in that regard. But being able to double spell against this deck is probably one of the ways that Paulo could potentially win.
I mean, that's the way he has to try to come back right now at this point, is to try to start kind of double spelling a little bit. I mean, the Divide by Zero top decks that Stráský has had here has been very, very timely. And again, Stráský's game plan is coming to fruition in a very big way. I mean, this turn, sure, I'm going to tap out. Great, do your worst. It doesn't really matter what it is. I mean, you have to finally get this Chariot on the battlefield, but we see Stráský's hand of Burn Down the House, of Mascot Exhibition to work towards, Epiphany over there being foretold right now. I mean, and also we're on turn 6-ish right now.
Yeah.
And Stráský's still at 20.
Yeah. At this point, for the green player, you hope that your opponent is dead on Epiphany, because Stráský's going to untap and do some crazy things next turn. So Paulo is going to put foot and try his best to get this game over and done with. The first attack in here is the Wolf, gets the counter from the Ranger class, and 17 is now Stráský's life total, who draws into another Epiphany. So he's going to have at least 2 turns here to work with.
Yeah, now the good news is, if there is any good news right now for Mono Green and PVDDR fans, is that this Mono Green deck does attack for a lot very, very quickly. It's not the fastest deck out of the gates, but once it does start attacking, we're talking of chunks of 4, 5, 7. You think of Chariot attacking for 4, +1/+1 counter from Rangers class, Tree Folks from Ren and 7. It can get the game over with pretty darn quickly. It needs to do that now, though. And again, Stráský has done a great job of just buying time, and now he's getting another turn and a couple of chump blockers.
So these 1/1 bird tokens going to hit the board. We'll be able to deal with the creatures should an onslaught occur. Didn't find another land, so that's a bit unfortunate for Stráský, who did have the second Alrund's Epiphany ready and raring to go.
Yeah, that is worth noting, right? Because Ondřej does have did have the possibility, pardon me, of if he finds a 7th land, maybe cast another Epiphany and then cast a Mascot Exhibition, and then he's got 7 creatures on the battlefield against Paulo's battlefield, and then it's just, more buying of time, gives you a nice wall of defense to cast cards like Expressive Iteration and Unexpected Windfall, but that's not where we're at right now, so I'm curious what his plan is this turn.
Possibly considering Expressive Iteration. It's going to be Unexpected Windfall, though.
Yeah, that's the one that he's thinking about, as the rope is starting to burn away here a little bit on him. He's been very thoughtful in his turns when we've had the opportunity to watch him play this deck. You can tell he's very, very well tested with it. It doesn't come as much of a surprise, and it looks like he's going to get rid of the Mascot Exhibition. Clearly not part of his plan for this game.
Unexpected Windfall, find the land. We're going to send the Alrund's Epiphany into Foretell, leaving up 3 mana, so that's still scary against any blue deck, if you ask me. But these little blockers, they're just going to hang back and wait for the onslaught here. So land number 6, this is quite a key land when you're playing against, a Burn Down the House deck, because those tokens won't get hit by the Burn Down the House, as they'll be 6 power.
Yeah, these Tree Folk tokens at Ren and 7, it does make, as you mentioned, 6 power, 6 toughness now, out of range for Burn Down the House, which is, again, as you mentioned, a key spot here. So Burn Down the House is looking a little bit worse. Now we're going to queue up the Chariot. These are the turns that everybody dreams about, right, with this style of deck, which is, play Ren and 7, make a Tree Folk, turn it on, copy the Tree Folk. That's dream living right there. This is what you're trying to do.
A Blizzard Brawl available, as well as a Snakeskin Veil, courtesy of that Sculptor of Winter. This has been an excellent addition to this mono green deck. A couple of deliberations between the pro players as to what should be in the 2-drop slot, and I must say Sculptor of Winter has been a very, very good addition indeed.
Yeah, it has looked really, really good. Simon Nielsen is someone who kind of helped to bring this innovation along, doing well in some online events, most recently on the SCD Tour Online, qualifying for the next set championship with Mono Green, so kudos to him. But he did have some Sculptor of Winters in his deck. I know, as you mentioned, there's been a little bit of back and forth discussion about should it be Lotus Cobra, should it be Sculptor of Winter, should it be something else entirely. I think Sculptor has performed the best in my estimation, and you do see Paulo and Pardee with that as their 2-drop of choice here as kind of that mana acceleration card.
Here's a decision whether to pre-combat Blizzard Brawl one of these birds out of the sky just to be able to get in for more damage. Any pros and cons to either way?
Well, the question you have to ask yourself right now is my Blizzard Brawl going to get any better? Right? Like, this is the one kind of window to really kind of use it. Now, Paulo does also have Inscription of Abundance, which has a lot of modes that you can use on that card, so maybe that's better. Maybe that's better served to hold. But Snakeskin Veil is also a card that's kind of interesting right now, too. So it looks like Paulo's not going to cast anything at this exact moment and just say, I'm going to attack Trigger's Rangers class, copy the Treeful. As I mentioned earlier, this deck attacks for big chunks of damage. You see Stráský is just going to chump block both of these, maybe with the plan of casting Burn Down the House. And there's Memory Deluge, but it's not going to kill those Treefolks unless you draw a copy of Galvanic Iteration.
I love that the counter went on the wolf token there, because if there is a Burn Down the House, Paulo will be able to respond with the Inscription of Abundance and put 2 counters on the wolf, protecting that creature too.
It's a very good point. It's a very good point. I think if you're Stráský there, as I mentioned, you're let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Oh yeah, you could Galvanic the Burn Down the House now.
Yeah, so he can Galvanic the Burn Down the House now, as you just did mention. There was also the possibility and the potential for him to, if he drew land number 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 plus 2 treasures to cast 2 Burn Down the House. You know, I don't think you ideally want to cast both, but, you know, the situation dictates that you might need to cast both. Deal 5 damage to all the creatures. It's 10 total to kill everything, and left with a Chariot, Ren 6, and a Rangers class. But maybe Galvanic Iteration does solve the problem right now of still, again, casting 2 copies of Burn Down the House to kind of clean up this battlefield a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like Stráský may be leaning that way, as the land is going to go to exile. He'll play that for his land for turn. Galvanic Iteration on the stack. And here comes the pain. Burn Down the House. You know, I think he's going to make the devils. 100%.
Yeah.
Let's make some devils. Nope.
Yeah. And this ends up looking pretty tough because also remember, it's going to kill the Ren 7 as well. So now Paulo's battlefield is gone. There's no Faceless Haven there. There's no way to turn on the Chariot, it looks like, as well. So the battlefield is cleaned up. You see that for Stráský, there's an Elrond's Epiphany over on the side.
Yeah.
There's a Deluge to play into a longer game. There's an Expressive Iteration that's a cheap way of continued manipulation and getting deeper into your deck. And for Paulo, who's drawn a copy of Blizzard Brawl, Inscription, Snakeskin Veil, Veil's kind of the best of the bunch in the matchup as far as like the spells in his deck. But Paulo had created a really nice battlefield, and now it's all gone.
It is at that. So you can just see a bit of a shake of the head there from Paulo. He knows that that was pretty much worst case scenario. And Stráský was able to get to that with that Expressive Iteration. So let's see what nonsense he gets up to now as Galvanic Iteration is flashback from the graveyard. Let's take 2 extra turns and see how many more we can take and if this game is over and done at this point.
Yeah, I would be shocked if it's not a wrap right now, right? Because you got 2 extra turns coming. You have a Deluge and a Iteration to cast. There's another Galvanic Iteration. There's an Expressive Variety as well. Burn Down the House can make the devils if we want to go that route, and you know, Demon Bolt. That's damage too. So, boy oh boy, oh boy.
Could see 6 devils here. That's what, 10 damage. I think he's gonna go with that. Let's see.
Yeah, I think we actually that actually sounds nice, right? So, yeah, so we do Burn Down the House. We copy that. This is the 6 devils. Attack for 10. You get another turn.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, there is the Snakeskin Veil, there is the Inscription of Abundance. It can't be kicked right now, I don't think. But can gain the life or use the counters. Let's see how Paulo defends against this onslaught here of these 1/1 tokens.
That's how.
That's how he defends.
The perfect defense.
Yep. No, writing's on the wall. Not much you could do in that situation, especially with a handful of gas like Stráský had. So let's jump to sideboard here and see if there's anything that Paulo can do against this incredible deck from Stráský.
Well, predictably, the fight spells are coming out. Blizzard Brawl, immediately the first card that's going to go to the sideboard. You also saw Ren 7 get out of here. Froghemoth That's a real thing. Froghemoth looks like it's coming in at least one from the sideboard. And while, known Paulo forever, right? And we know about all the accolades and the accomplishments. He is someone who has said, he does the emotion plays into the game for him, not in a negative way. Like he hates making mistakes and gets frustrated by that. But you can also tell with him being the defending champion, I'm sure him wanting to run this back, because why wouldn't you want to? A little bit of frustration, I think, for him in that last game, because his start was good.
Yeah.
Sculptor of Winter into Chariot. Like, you really can't ask for a better start on the play in the matchup, right? And Stráský's stuff lined up perfectly. The Fading Hope into the Divide by Zero, into the Divide by Zero, and it's like, come on.
Yeah, how do you catch a break? And post sideboard, Stráský's deck gets better against mono green because you see the creatures coming in. You see the Smoldering Egg, you see Burning Hands, and the Goldspan Dragons. So this is going to be an uphill battle for Paulo to win.
Yeah, Paulo really, of course, wanted to get that first game there. That's exactly the spot you want to be in as the aggressor in the matchup as well. So we're going to see how his hand comes together this time around. And it's a slow start. And you can see him kind of grimacing at this because he does have some interaction, but he only has one creature. And right now, as things currently stand, Ailey, he can't even cast it.
On the other side of things, though, Stráský's hand, that's not too shabby indeed. A Smoldering Egg, turn 2, pretty good. Divide by 0, and turn 3, Aura War Disruption. And then all of a sudden, a couple more spells, you have a dragon that's killing everything.
Yeah, and Stráský, I'd be surprised if he doesn't keep this hand, because oddly enough, Jawari Disruption is actually a pretty solid card in this hand right now, given how Paulo's hand is kind of shaped up. Now, Paulo's going to send things back, and this does look better. It's going to be a snap keep. Ranger's class going to head to the bottom. And now Paulo actually gets to get the party started on turn number 2, which I think is a pretty big deal here. So he'll be able to get something on the battlefield to start pressuring Stráský, which is pretty nice. Then he's got a Mammoth to play on 3. So he's got the old 2-3-4 in class Mammoth Chariot, assuming he draws a land. So I think this is a much better hand here for PVDDR.
And it's also assuming that things resolve, as we can see in Stráský's hand. It's going to be a bit tricky.
Well, Stráský's going to try to do just what he did the last game and his match against Party, which is, again, little bounce here, buy some time, and then, let the fireworks go.
Oh, yes. So Frostboil Snarl, the first thing to hit the board, reveals that mountain in hand. Snow-covered forest is the draw for Paulo, so should there be an old growth troll hanging about, it will be able to be cast, but Ranger's class hits the board. There is the 2-2, and he's going to hope that he can just keep chipping away at the life total of Stráský before he gets to untap and do exactly what this deck wants to.
Well, speak of the devil, and it shall appear. Old growth troll was the draw step. Better draw step, one could argue, than just playing Kazandu Mammoth on turn number 3. So this is the start that Paulo is looking for, right? It's just 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Don't have all your stuff, please. Basically.
Pretty much, yeah. I was considering the Mammoth there. Now, typically you want to get Faceless Haven down on turn 3, so on turn 4 I can start smacking. But a little bit of deliberation there, and decides that Kazandu Mammoth needs to hit the board first.
Looks like Burning Hands, the draw step, as you mentioned during the sideboarding. The matchup continues to get better for Stráský. Burning Hands is certainly a reason. Smoldering Egg is another. And still the game plan is intact of just buy time, kill stuff, work myself towards Epiphany. And Stráský's hand, it doesn't have the Epiphany tools just yet, but it does have the early interaction tools that he's looking for.
Yeah, for sure does. So as it stands, does have the lands to get to Goldspan Dragon on turn 5, so it doesn't need to cast, or doesn't need to play Jawari Ruins. So gonna pass the turn back, holding up that Divide by 0 and Disruption. Kazandu Mammoth gonna get nice and big and chunky. Has the Snakeskin Veil, so that's a really nice card if Burning Hands decides to work its way into the equation here.
That is one heck of a draw step there from PvDR. That Snakeskin Veil is certainly going to end up mattering, I imagine, over the course of this game. Now he's probably going to go to the Chariot. See if we can get the old Cadillac here, and Divide by 0 says, hang on just a sec.
Yeah, get out of here. You can come down later. Environmental Sciences is the pick here for Stráský. Find a land, gain some life. You don't hate it up against this very aggressive deck that Paulo's playing.
Just imagine resolving a Chariot. Dream big. Imagine resolving a Chariot early in the game. I bet it's super easy to win when you do that. But
wouldn't it be nice?
Stráský's like, that's not happening to me.
That's not happening.
No. Under no circumstances that happening to me.
Nice. Stráský will be able, in combat, depending on where he goes, will be able to create the Ashmouth Dragon from the Smoldering Egg, whether it's a Dry Disruption or a Burning Hands. So that's something that Paulo is going to be keeping an eye out for.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting if he wants to do it. Like, he could just turn into a 4/4 now if he actually wants to, right? He can just go Burning Hands your Mammoth right now, not have to worry about Snakeskin Veil, and then just say, hey, I got a 4/4 right now. Now, I'm tapped out, sure, but I'm kind of locking it in to having it, not having to worry about like, any fight cards or any Snakeskin Veils or any nonsense. And there might be some interest in that because he might be thinking to himself, Burning Hands, kill the thing now, kill the Mammoth now. I know you have a Chariot coming, but then I'm going to play a Goldspan Dragon, and now I'm just going air beatdowns, air beatdowns, air beatdowns. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he just goes, kill this, attack you.
I like that plan.
Let's race.
I like it. Let's go. This is the transformational qualities of this deck that you mentioned yesterday, Cedric. It's very controlling in the first game. Post board, it's creatures, it's beatdowns. It's I don't care what you're doing, I'm going to kill you in the air with my dragons. Yeah,
and I'm digging this plan right now that Stráský is looking to enable. Now the nice thing is depending on Ondřej's draw step, he can go, I'm gonna slow down. Right? He doesn't have to follow through with the game plan of land, Goldspan Dragon, attack you. His plan can be, let me draw my card, which was Frostboil Snarl. Let me reassess. Do I want to keep attacking? Do I want to play Goldspan Dragon on defense and pass the turn back? Seems unlikely, but not impossible. So that's also one of the nice things about what he was doing is he can reassess what he wants to do based off of what Paulo's turn is.
Well, this is a 2-turn clock, yeah? There's a Dry Disruption in hand.
He has Dry Disruption in hand, and he's making a treasure which will allow him to cast the Dry Disruption, which will also trigger the Ashmouth Dragon. So I'm not saying don't attack, because always attack.
Yes.
But I am just saying, just think it through a little bit, what Stráský did do. You didn't see any immediate action from him. And now Paulo is facing down lethal at the moment.
8 more points of damage is all Stráský needs here. Has the Dry Disruption as a protection spell, and also has removal in that Ashmouth Dragon. So if one of these itty-bitty critters does get a little feisty with that Inscription of Abundance, you know, there is a way to target it. We do know that there is a Snakeskin Veil, so let's see what Paulo does in this situation. It's basically do or die right here, right now.
The question for your reigning world champion is, what is he trying to play around? What is he thinking? What's going through his mind right now? Because he has a Inscription of Abundance in his hand, and he might be thinking, okay, that treasure, well, you can sacrifice that for 2 mana. Is it Burning Hands? Is it Disruption? Is it something else entirely? What can I do to get myself out of what is very clearly a rather sticky situation?
Yeah, this is certainly not the position that Paulo wants to find himself in, but Ondřej Stráský has played this deck beautifully thus far, and is looking like he might be 6-0 very, very soon, Cedric.
Looks like we're going to get in the Cadillac.
All right, kitty car. Let's go.
We're gonna
might be thinking about the life gain off Inscription of Abundance.
Yeah, I'm very curious. I am very, very curious because now you can put the counter on the Chariot potentially. Okay. Yep, you copy there. So now you got yourself a little 5/5. Get yourself some damage through. It's going to be 7. It's an 8/8 ball game right now.
Well, let's see. This will work.
Okay. He's got the 1 mana available to pay for the disruption. Also has Snakeskin Veil at the ready. So the Chariot's going to fight the dragon. Now we take a look at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. Stráský. Now he's got some thinking to do. So what's interesting right now is, okay, disruption off, right? Not going to work. Do you still cast the disruption, cashing in the treasure, and say, maybe you say 2 damage upstairs?
Yep.
Right?
That is possible, because if he draws another Goldspan Dragon off the top of the library, that would be lethal.
Well, that's going to do it anyway, because he's already at 8, so 2 increments of 4. But is there a reason to maybe go after a token for some reason? Is it worth it to just go upstairs? Look, because he's cashing in the Dry Disruption no matter what now.
Yeah.
Now it's just a question of like, where do I want to put the damage? And you might be able to make the argument that putting the damage to a token doesn't do anything, but is there some other way to deal an additional 2 points of damage? Looks like we're going to go towards the Chariot with the idea of maybe I want to kill this now. Paulo might just be good with that. Okay, yeah, so he pays the 1. Great. Chariot and the Dragon trade.
Nice.
Smashing
Takes care of 2 critters.
Smashing does take care of 2 creatures, but there's that creature land hanging back there.
Yeah, so Field of Ruin needs to be a little bit available here in this situation.
Yeah, this gets tough because Paulo's hand is lined up pretty well. So if you take a look at Ondřej's side of things, Shatter Skull Smashing can, kill some stuff, but it's not great, right? That's not ideal. Field of Ruin can take care of the Faceless Haven. We're not going to get into Snakeskin Veil just yet, but if you're drinking just on Ondřej's side of things, it's around, am I attacking, am I not attacking? Question answered. Love it, always attack.
Wow.
Make a treasure. The treasure can be sacrificed for 2 mana to Field of Ruin, the Faceless Haven, which you can do now? So this is maybe
tense.
maybe what this is sack treasure, Field of Ruin, kill your Faceless Haven while you're tapped out. Smashing for 2 on something. Right? Because then Paulo is attacking for 7 in combination with the Rangers class.
Ranger class, yeah.
But it's that Snakeskin Veil that, again, might cause the issue here. Not so much on the Field of Ruin on the Faceless Haven for pretty obvious reasons, but it's maybe that additional point of damage.
Well, that could be what Paulo needs to squeak through the victory here. Field of Ruin, as you mentioned, going to take care of Faceless Haven. Gonna go find another land and clear out some of this battlefield here. Expertly navigated by both players to get themselves in this situation. They are just, it seems like they're just 1 attack step away.
So let's see, if
from a win here.
If you Snakeskin Veil, yeah, this is tough. So if you Snakeskin Veil a thing. Yep, that's it.
Oh, man.
Huge. The +1/+1 counter. +1/+1 counter makes it one of those into a 3/3. You have a 3/3, 2 2/2s. That's 7. Ranger's Clash trigger. That's 8. That Snakeskin Veil.
That's lethal.
Huge. Once again.
Snakeskin Veil MVP.
And remember, with their deck building coming into this tournament, 1 Veil main, 3 in the board. 3 in the board. So clearly Paulo and Sam Pardee have put a huge priority on this card in this matchup, and you see exactly why, because that was huge. Game winning.
We have a battle here indeed. What a great way to start off day 2 of the World Championship. Defending world champ Paulo Vitor Damo da Rosa up against the man who cannot lose in Ondřej Stráský. Don't want commentators curse you, but man, these 2 are good.
These 2 have some great battles between them. That finals matchup at Mythic Championship 6 in Richmond,
so good.
Where Stráský beat PV. I think it kind of goes a little bit undersold a little bit. That had PV won that would have been like a 3rd PT win. Like, come on, man, give us a chance. Give us mere mortals a chance.
Insane. Ondřej actually tweeted this morning, just before the tournament started, that he's currently 4-0 in the last 4 matches up against Paulo, but their record overall is 4-10. So he's looking to go 5-10 up against the reigning world champ.
I have to imagine most people have a negative record against Paulo.
Oh, of course.
But here's one thing I'm going to point out as this game kind of unfolds. There's a big difference between being on the play and being on the draw in this matchup, and you're seeing it firsthand because Stráský being on the play here, he has been allowed to foretell in Alrund's Epiphany. Now he's able to cast an expressive iteration, as opposed to when he's on the draw, it's kind of like Fading Hope something, Divide by Zero something, maybe I'll find a window to do some card draw. Now he gets to be proactive right off the jump, which is, again, foretell Alrund's Epiphany, cast expressive iteration, not worry about all that much, and I have a Fading Hope in hand right now, where maybe I bounce the Sculptor, maybe I don't. He's going to keep that thing off of the battlefield, no acceleration to something crazy. So a beautiful start here for Stráský.
Beautiful indeed. Also finds the expressive iteration off the top, courtesy of the Scry. And one thing that's a little awkward right now for Paulo is he didn't find the untapped land number 3 to get Old Growth Troll down. So you can see a little bit unhappy there with his draw.
Yeah, not ideal if we're keeping track of the snow-covered forest count as well. If Faceless Haven works itself into the equation for snowlands and turning up that creature land, it's going to be a little bit awkward right now as well. So, PV struggling a little bit.
Old Growth Troll on the stack, divide by 0. Gonna put that back to hand. But Paulo is in a position where he's able to double spell here, courtesy of the sculptor, so we could see a werewolf pack leader here.
Yeah,
Which
one of
ain't
those
too
spots.
shabby.
One of those spots where you just want to get something on the battlefield. Now, if he can get something to stick, you do see the 2 copies of Snakeskin Veil, and those are really good. We saw how great that card was in the last game, but Paulo's shaking his head now because Goldspan Dragon has shown up, and that card is problematic with the treasures that it's going to generate, and the lack of a fight spell right now here for PvDDR.
Yeah, he can protect his stuff, but he can't get rid of this dragon, and it's going to deliver the beatdowns, it's going to accelerate Stráský. It needs to be answered pretty darn quickly. Now, he can get a card off of the werewolf pack leader, but it's a little bit awkward to do so, because it's either the activated ability of the pack leader, or it's using a Snakeskin Veil pre-combat. So where does he go from here?
And that's so many avenues to go down, because you have to think of, if you're Paulo right now, that one of the key things I'm sure you're probably thinking is, okay, what's your card that has been foretold? It's almost assuredly Epiphany. And if it's Demon Bolt, what does that look like? And Demon Bolt I kind of got covered. So now it's okay, so Dragon's going to come in for 4. I'm going to go down to 12. You're going to cast Epiphany, get 2 birds. Then it's 4, 5, 6. I go down to 6, and I'm probably dead to another Epiphany. You know, you're just kind of thinking to yourself, probably just, what's the turn cycle going to look like? What are the next couple of turns going to look like for me? How much, do I need to add to the battlefield? Do I need to just put the shields down entirely when we're talking about Snakeskin Veil? There's Old Growth Troll. Okay.
And so Paulo does have a board. He's going to hope to keep it this turn, or this time around. Crossboil's Snarl, not the best land off the top here for Stráský. Does, of course, have the expressive iteration to go and find an untapped land. Can fire off the Epiphany if he wants to. Does have the treasures available, courtesy of the Goldspan Dragon. So let's see where he goes.
Goldspan Dragon doing some serious work in this matchup. Now here's that Epiphany.
I mean, if you can take extra turns, you're going to take them, yeah?
It's hard to pass it up, especially in a spot like this, because 1, 6, 2. Yeah, so if he finds another Epiphany, we're lights out.
Yeah,
we know that. There's 2 birds,
and he can go digging for it with expressive iteration. Can scry with a fading hope too.
Yeah, iteration it would be, I don't know if Ondřej wants to do that or not. And then there's teaching the archaics as well. He could try fading hoping something, but I think Paulo would snap off a Snakeskin Veil to counteract that and stop the scry. So
let's see what he draws.
Yeah. It is an enormous draw step. Now let me 4, 5. I want to see if there's anything to be done as far as getting cute here is concerned. What I'm thinking right now is, are you supposed to fading hope your own token?
Maybe.
I mean, it's a little. Look, it sounds crazy. I know.
I would say that's probably correct.
Divide by 0.
Divide by 0. All right. So in this case now, without the Epiphany, if he expressive iterations into an Epiphany, he would have enough mana, I believe, with the treasures.
Correct. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 mana total right now. Epiphany is going to cost 2, brings you down to 6. Treasure will get you 2 more mana. So, yeah, I mean, you find an Epiphany, it's lights out. Now, do you need an Epiphany in this spot when you draw Divide by 0?
Yeah, because you're not dead on the crackback, yeah?
Yeah, I don't think you do. And Divide by 0 gives you a lot of cover around a lot of different stuff.
All right, Burning Hands.
So does copying a Burning Hands.
Yeah. It's like, how would you like to kill these creatures? You have several ways to do so.
Yes, I think we're done now. Because we can go copy Burning Hands, kill 2 things, attack with Goldspan, make a treasure, have Divide by 0 up.
Yep.
That's just
yeah, you
all
can
of
see.
it.
Paulo knows. He
that's
knows.
just all of it.
It's impossible to come back from this.
Sick turn.
That was absolutely incredible stuff from Stráský.
Yeah.
Paulo did his best. He is, if there was anyone who was going to be able to deal with Stráský in this situation, it was going to be Paulo. He did his best, but Stráský is just far too dominant right now. Unbelievable stuff.
Guy can't be stopped. He's on a roll, and again, you are seeing him as far as the game plan is concerned. You're seeing it in action from start to finish, which is again delay, interact, and then try to win with something. This time around, it was Goldspan Dragon. Epiphany, of course, worked itself into the equation, but more importantly than all of that,